Hello, today we're going to be looking at participle clauses. Participle clauses are kind of like relative clauses with some exceptions and with some extra uses. So basically we use them as we do with relative clauses to give extra information about a situation. We can add a clause beginning with a present participle or a past participle. So a present participle is the form of the verb with ing. Being famous, everyone recognised him. So any verb with ing is the present participle. We could say because he was famous, everyone always recognised him. But if we make it shorter, we add this information in a participle clause, then it sounds much more interesting and much more natural. We can also use past participles, which is any form of the verb in regular verbs with ed. With irregular verbs, it's your third form of the verb. So, disappointed by poor reviews. The director sacked everyone. Again, you could say because he was disappointed by poor reviews, the director sacked everyone. But this sounds much cleverer. We can use a participle clause only when the participle and the main verb have the same subject. It's very important, this. So here, this first sentence, we've got waiting for John, I made some tea. This is our participle, waiting, and this is our main verb, made. Now, I made the tea, and I am waiting for John. They're both the same, so this works. We know who's waiting for John, and we know who's making the tea. It's me, making tea, waiting for John. The second sentence, we've got waiting for John, the kettle boiled. So, main verb boiled, participle waiting. Now, who is doing the boiling? It's a kettle. So the kettle is boiling. Is the kettle waiting for John? No. Kettles don't wait. They're inanimate objects unless they're very clever. So we can't do this. We can't do this because it makes no sense. So you need to be very careful of what we call dangling participles. This is when the subject of the participle and the subject of the main verb don't match. It's important. They have to, because otherwise it makes sense. It makes no sense at all, and you will confuse people. So you could say, looking at the train timetable, the book flew away. This suggests that the book is looking at the train timetable, not you. So just be careful that your subjects match. So we can use them as in passive forms or in active forms. Now you remember passives. Passives are when the subject of the verb isn't the thing doing the verb, either because we don't know who did the verb, we don't care who did the verb, or because it's so obvious we don't need to say who did the verb, or it doesn't matter. So a passive here, we use past participle clauses. So here we have the third form of the verb teach. Taught well, anyone can learn English. So it's anyone is being taught and anyone can learn. So we know that these are the same. So not everyone is teaching, but it's passive. So in a passive sentence, the subject does not do the verb. The verb is done to the person. Similarly, we can also use having been plus a past participle to mean something passive. So having been given lots of help, I finished my homework. So I finished my homework and I was given lots of help, okay? So it all needs to match. The subjects in the sentences have to match. So this is for a passive meaning, and we don't know who gave the help, and we don't know who's teaching, we don't care, or it's obvious. Active meanings. When we use a present participle, then it's active. So if it's a present participle, we know that the subject is going to do the verb. So having a dog, I get loads of exercise. I get the exercise, I have the dog. Having been there for hours, I gave up and went home. Now, this looks a little bit like the passive form, but here we've only got having been. There is no past participle here, and because of that, it's an active meaning. So having been there for hours, I gave up and went home. I gave up. I had been waiting there for hours. So you could say, because I, or after I had been waiting there for hours, I gave up and went home. Or we can make it shorter and cleverer. So we can also use participle clauses to express conditions, reasons, results, and times. Okay, so we'll go through these just quickly because I don't want to over confuse. First one then, anything with if in it. You can use a participle clause to express a condition if you drop the if and you drop the subject. Okay, then you've got look after this coat, it will keep you warm for many years. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Who is going to look after the coat? Do we know? Do we care? Or is it obvious? Let's say it's obvious. So it becomes a passive because the subject's not clear. Looked after, this coat will keep you warm for many years. So the coat will keep you warm, but the coat is the thing that is looked after. So looking after is done to the coat. The coat doesn't look after anything. And so because of that, we use this passive form. Reason, anything with so or therefore. So I wanted to speak to him about the contract, so I decided to arrange a meeting. We can take so, get rid of it. And then this is the first part of your sentence that you want to change. So we get rid of the subject. We make this present. And there we have it. Wanting to speak to him about the contract, I decided to arrange a meeting. We can use it to express a result. I had no time to read my book because I had spent so much time doing my homework. So with this one, we want to explain why. So what we do, here we have because, we drop that. Now, this is the bit, this second part is the reason why I had no time to read my book. So we drop the subject, we drop because, and then we've got that. Having spent so much time doing my homework, I had no time to read my book. I had no time to read my book. I had spent so much time doing my book, doing my homework. So it's an active sentence. We can also use it to express time. So while I was sitting at the cafe with my friends, I suddenly realised that I should be at work. So here we have our time word, so we can drop that. We have a subject, we drop that. And then we want to just use the present participle. So sitting at the cafe with my friends, I suddenly realised that I should be at work. I realised and I was sitting. So it's active. So we can use them to replace relative clauses. For example, anyone who doesn't do their homework will be in trouble. So this bit is your relative clause. When we use it to replace the relative clause, the same as with the expression of time, condition, result, you drop the subject, which in this case is a relative pronoun, and you drop any auxiliary verbs. I still want this because it's negative, so we drop the auxiliary verb. So anyone, and then we want this in a present participle, but negative. So anyone not doing their homework will be in trouble. Looks complicated. It's not as bad as it looks. We can use them to replace relative clauses, and we can use them to give extra information, and we can also use them as adjectives. So here we're describing the people. So which people will be in trouble? The people not doing their homework. So here it almost acts as an adjective. So there you go. Now you are experts, and you'll be able to use them in your writing and in your speaking. Good luck.